Excellent. I will request everyone who is still having their lunch or a late lunch to kindly come back and take their seats. This is a tough session, right? Just had lunch, so we're going to try and make it simple and easy. Can I request you all to kindly settle down, please? Sorry, this is the hardest. I'm in a very unglamorous job. I don't get to sell some fancy, colorful gadgets. I actually sell hard disk drives. Okay, nobody really gets to see them 9 out of 10 times. So let's see how we can make it useful and interactive to you, and especially relevant from a business perspective. The important part of the session for the next about 40 minutes is we have Mr. Rinosh here. Mr. Rinosh is actually a key customer of ours. He also he's with an organization that has actually deployed multiple revolutionary technologies that include storage. So the important thing that we're going to try and cover today as a part of this particular session is not what Dell has here to offer to you in terms of technology. We will be talking more about how this technology makes business sense. So that's why we have Mr. Rinosh here. So let's quickly start. So what Dell has been doing for the last couple of years, this is a fairly populated slide. I promise you will not have to read any more slides like that. But what we've been trying to do for the last couple of years is our customers have come back and told us a simple challenge. The challenge is every vendor has approximately similar storage solutions. So here is my question to you. How many people think that most vendors have by and large similar storage products? Okay, excellent. So I think we're on the same page. So let me level set by introducing a new concept from Dell, which is our objective has been a little different. So you all know that we used to be a pure 100% Dell direct company. We used to work with customers direct. We never used to have resellers. So first transformation that we did in the last 4-5 years is we've become channel friendly. We've started working with a lot of resellers and distributors. The main reason for doing that was there are customers who need the reach. There are customers who have a critical size which is best met by an organization which is next door to them. So that's one big cultural shift we did as a company. But the second one is even more important. We've been buying these companies, we've been buying these technologies. These are not random acquisition that one day I go, put the money on the table and buy a company. It's not done like that. We have a big picture, we have a clear strategy in mind, and these companies form components of that big picture, of that strategy. So this is what Dell has been doing for the last couple of years. And if you notice some of the biggest acquisitions we've made, so look at, for example, that box. The first name is EqualLogic. We spent about $1.4 billion. There are a couple of other names, but the other important one in that is Compellent. We spent close to $1 billion. So we have spent a lot of money to acquire not companies, but the right word is technologies. And what I want you to appreciate when you walk out of this room today is the storage solutions. These are not products. These are not just dumb boxes. The solutions that we offer to you as Dell, all of these solutions are unique. They are very, very strong. And they give you something that is not available in the market. In fact, some of these storage solutions address pain points that I can assure you that no other vendor will come and talk to you about. Okay, so with that as the quick level set, let's look at what is it that we do. So this big chart actually translates into a storage-centric piece. Please don't get me wrong. I'm going to focus on 2 key technologies we offer. This is like, we just letting you have a taste of what we have on the table. We actually have a more comprehensive portfolio which is built up of these 6 key blocks. So there is production storage. This is where your bread and butter business runs. Okay? And then you have something called disaster recovery storage. You have backups, you have archives, you use a lot of storage actually. So we have the complete portfolio, the complete spectrum of solutions to offer to our customers through our partners as well as Dell Direct. And the objective is to give you a taste of 2 of the key technologies. But remember, we can do the same for backup, we can do the same for archive. And if you want, we can talk a little bit about backup and archive. And to make this session really useful, whenever you have a question, I will request you to just raise your hand and shoot it at us. We will try and accommodate as many as possible during the session. We will also try and spend a few minutes at the end of the session. So that's the objective, right? So moving on. So we're going to focus on basically two of the key pillars. These are primary storage solutions. But we do have a lot of other key components to the solution stack that we offer our customers. So this is the first one. We call it the Dell EqualLogic. So let me ask this question quickly. How many of you have actually bought a Dell EqualLogic solution? Okay, so there are a few folks who've deployed it. So let me start by thanking you first of all. Really appreciate that you've considered this. And I'm going to do two things. One is to refresh your memories on what is it that you actually paid for and bought. And I hope you're using all the capabilities, because sometimes it just drops through the cracks. And for the rest of the audience, we will request you to spend exactly about 5 minutes to understand what it is. But this session is not about what the product is. This session is about what a real user got out of that. So that is the objective. So moving on. It looks like any other storage, right? So don't expect our storages to look very glamorous. They're not going to come in bright red color with Ferrari stickers on them. They look like any other storage. They have a nice little bezel. You can tell which one is a storage and which one is not a storage in a rack. But other than that, the real difference is when you look at the technology. So this is how it is done. A traditional storage solution, when you buy it, it is made up of a few parts. You have the servers. The servers is where you run your applications or your virtualization layer or whatever it is that you're going to deploy. You have an interconnect fabric, which could be Ethernet or which could be fiber channel. Fiber channel has been around for many years, but Ethernet has also matured quite a bit in the last about 4 or 5 years. And then the third component of the solution is the storage itself. So this is how traditionally storage solutions have been built. This is how the storage solutions have been bought. So let me quickly, I'm just going to blank this. So let me quickly ask this question. How many of you have had a storage which was there for you for about 4 or 5 years? Then you bought a new storage and you moved the data from the old storage to the new storage. How many people have actually done migration of data from an old storage to a new storage? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, excellent. Let me ask you then a follow-up question. I have a feeling that there are more people who would have done that. Probably the lunch wasn't good enough. So, but I have a second follow-up question, which is, how many of you actually enjoyed doing the data migration? It was fun. Okay, so definitely looks like this has definitely got nothing to do with the lunch, I guess. Data migration is a pain. It's a pain when you do it on a desktop. It's a pain when you have to copy your contacts on a cell phone. It's an excruciating, huge pain when you have to do it on a storage in a data center that hosts all your data, all your email stores. It holds your databases. It holds your file server data. When you have that, we do have a very, very serious problem, right? So we're on the same page? Excellent. How many vendors have come and told you this is a problem you can solve? Like I promised you, everything we do today comes with a difference. This is not really a problem. You buy a new laptop, you go with the assumption that you will have to spend 2, 3, 4 hours if you're really lucky, and if you're unlucky, and I usually do it over a period of 2 weekends, because I like to put the same wallpaper, the same icon, the same mouse, even the pointer has to look the same. I like it to be consistent, and I just want to feel the extra speed out of a new laptop, which usually I don't get. Okay, but that is how I want to do my data migration. I'm fairly certain maybe the aesthetics don't matter in the data center, but the data does. So you can't leave anything behind and turn on the new system without realizing that you're going to be in a serious trouble. So data migrations are always painful. Data migrations take a lot of time. And data migrations, I have done one of the largest data migrations that I did was for a tobacco company in India, probably the largest tobacco company here. When I did that, I don't think any of the top management staff stayed more than an hour's distance away from their office on any weekend when we were doing it. So this is a pain. This is a pain which is well known. I'm just trying to make you feel it so that the important point is it is a challenge. It's a problem that exists. It's a problem that nobody else is solving. So the key differentiator we have with our very first piece of technology I'm going to talk about is this. We help you solve this problem for good, for once and for all. How do we solve this problem on the servers, by the way? Any guesses? Do you really have to do a lot of migration effort on the servers? Heard of the word vMotion? Buy a new server, vMotion the old server to the new physical box. It's done, right? So on the servers, there is a solution. It's called server virtualization. Okay? Everybody has a storage that works with virtual servers. Okay, I repeat the statement. Everybody has a storage that works with virtual servers. We have a virtual storage that works with virtual servers. So what we do is, just watch this quick animation. So this is what you did. You bought a storage, okay, you connect it to a couple of servers, and then the colorful boxes show you the various kinds of data which is sitting on the storage. Let's assume the first box that you can see right now at the bottom, this is what you bought, let's say in the year 2007. Okay? Come year 2009, you need more capacity. So you actually buy another box. Okay? This box is a complete solution in itself. When you buy the next box, just watch the animation once again. You buy the box, you fix it into your network, you turn it on. It takes about 30-35 minutes. I'm not counting the time needed to physically install it. But other than that, it takes about 30-35 minutes. You turn it on. With any other storage, when you buy more capacity, it is there. It's sitting there till you figure out what to do with it. You got to create volumes, map them to servers to use them. In our case, even if you don't do anything, they talk to each other and they spread the data on both the systems. Benefit, you just went from 16 drives to 16 plus 24, 40 drives. Every single existing server will see a performance boost. You've got more hard drives handling the same data. So that's the key. This piece of technology that we have on our storage solutions is called a scale-out architecture. I haven't bought one big system which you just expand with hard drives. Every time you expand it, you get more processing power for the storage, you get more network ports for the IOs, you get more cache, more memory on the controllers. Actually, the word cache is wrong. The right word is memory. If someone says, I have 16 GB cache on the storage, I don't think he can prove it. They do have 16 GB memory on a storage. How much of that is being used as cache? That's a science that let's not dig into right now. But you do get more memory. So every time you buy another physical unit, you get more memory. Make sense so far? Okay, great. So scale out, right? Which means then you can buy a third one. So you had bought the first one in 2008, the second one in 2010, the third one you buy in 2011, 12. So your data keeps scaling out. Remember, the servers do not know the difference. They just see more I/O. So you had 16 drives, you want to add 24 more. We have multiple form factors, 12, 24, 48, and they can all happily talk to each other. So you keep adding them, it just grows. Painless, zero downtime. The storage comes to you on a Tuesday morning. You install it physically on a Tuesday morning. You go home, have a cup of coffee in the evening. Next morning, the data is sitting on all the storage systems. This is the revolutionary scale-out auto load balancing architecture we have. This architecture balances I/O. It balances hard drives. It balances everything. Okay? But this is the ultimate icing on the cake. What happens after 5-6 years? Had it been a traditional storage, now is the nightmare. Now is that terrible time coming when you got to buy the new one and you got to spend your weekends moving. So you had a few terabytes, you're a lucky guy. If you had a few 100 terabytes, wish you best of luck because you really have a big problem. But watch this. This is what we do. So let's say the first system is the only one that is 6 years old. This is what you do. You buy another system. Okay? And then you go to a console. So actually it happens a little different. So you buy the first system. Let's say it comes to you on a Tuesday in the month of February. You physically fit it in. The data spreads from 3 to 4 physical units. Spreads out. On a Wednesday morning you come. You click on the first one and say, array evacuate. Actually the button is called, it's an easy word. It's called delete. What happens is a process starts. It doesn't happen immediately. You click on delete, you're done. You just do your normal work, your servers do the normal work, but the data from the first storage is flushed out to the rest. And so you come back to the office on a Wednesday or a Thursday morning, based on how much workload was, it'll say array evacuation complete. What you do is you take out the wires and you take it out. You just finished a very large forklift upgrade. You did not have to throw away everything. You just removed what was old. You removed it without any downtime. And it was completely seamless to your users. And I'm happy to tell you that you did not have to come in and work on your kid's birthday or on a weekend. You could do it on a normal day. That's what this technology does. This is what makes it so great. Like I promised you, everything we do today is revolutionary. It is very, very different. And by the way, this is backwards compatible to the very first array that was sold in the year 2003. Because if it is not backwards compatible, it is trash. So when someone else talks about backwards compatibility, he's probably thinking of mirroring data for a DR. When I talk about backwards compatibility, this is serious stuff. This could have been 5,000 RPM SATA drives. That could be nearline SAS. That could be solid state drives. They all happily talk to each other. They all happily work with each other. That's what this solution is. So you don't do forklift upgrades. This is, by the way, an application aware storage. This is an intelligent storage. So how many people understand snapshot? Okay, great, appreciate. Do you know that if at 11 o'clock in the morning, when 20 people are using your storage system, some people are transferring files, some people are moving exchange data, and you decide to take a snapshot, what happens? Hopefully, the snapshot can be relied upon, because some data would be halfway in, some data would be quarter way in. You can't really rely on that snapshot. But this is application aware. The moment you take a snapshot on this, he will tell the exchange server, finish this current mail and then wait for a few milliseconds. He will tell the SQL server, complete this transaction and give me a few milliseconds. He will talk to the file server, finish this file transfer and give me a few milliseconds. And when everything gives them that few milliseconds, they all agree to do it, he'll take a quick snapshot. You've got a consistent, crash consistent, completely application-aware snapshot. That is what this guy does. So it has a bunch of features, about 14, 15 of them, but I'm not going to spend time on that. At this point in time, I'm actually going to switch over to my good friend here and let's hear what a real customer experience with the product has been. Please, Mr. Kurian.
Sorry about that. So what I would like to share is something that I mentioned the 12G server launch as well. It's about our experience on the storage that we have procured from Dell recently. We have procured server and storage from Dell for quite some time now. And right now, I'd like to share my experience with Ecologic, right? So it was in 2009 when I was called in by the CIO and asked to get involved in a particular storage deal that was going on. And I take care of applications. At that time, I was more responsible for applications alone. And I was like telling my CIO, see, I'm a technically challenged architect when it comes to storage. So but then he insisted that I get into this conversation. And over the period, immediately I reached out to the Dell engagement manager, technical engagement manager, who gave me the contacts of people who could help me out in understanding storage technologies in the market. And we had this conversation. And he said that, see, why are you considering the traditional storage? There's a new box called Ecologic, which has got amazing capability. And it was a recent acquisition by Dell. And it would be the most optimal solution for us. So I said, since I did not know much, I did not come with a baggage or a point of view on a particular type of storage. And I said, fine, tell me what it is about. So we had the best engineers from Dell come down and explain to us about the Ecologic storage. And then the moment it was mentioned that it is an iSCSI storage, team members who were working on storage started saying, iSCSI is not good enough. It does not deliver the kind of speeds that you get with fiber storage and all that. And I kept going back to Dell and asking about these clarifications, and they convinced me that Of course, there is a general market opinion about iSCSI storage, but then the way Dell product is engineered takes care of those issues. And I understood when each box comes with its own compute, memory, and network capability. Basically, you have got everything that is required and that can be delivered out of the bunch of drives that you have. For example, if you have a storage box with, let's say, 24 drives, there is only so much it can give out, right? It is a physical limitation of the hard drive. So I understood that. And I understood the fact that as you stack more and more boxes, you get the combined capacity. It's not just independent capacity, but then it starts working as a single box. You get the combined capacity of all these units together. So it is amazing technology, but then my team members were not at all convinced that this is the right technology. In fact, they went to the extent of influencing a vice president who was the CIO of a bank in North America. He's got extensive experience, like 25 years experience, way above me. And he calls me up and says, "Hey, Rinosh, I understand that you are thinking about buying an iSCSI storage." I see what comes from my left field, right? So I never expected such a senior person to call me and recommend something. So for 2 to 3 minutes, he went on saying that, it's a disaster, don't buy it. I have gone through all kinds of technologies, stick to fiber and all that. So I listened to him, and finally I said, "Sir, you're right, I agree with you. But then, please understand that there is a different technology that they are using now." And I explained to him. When I explained to him that each array of drives comes with its own compute, memory, and network, he immediately got it. He said, "Oh, that's how they solved it." So it is true that certain storage devices earlier had this issue, but he immediately realized that that's how they solved that issue. The second issue that he said, "Yeah, I agree. Okay, so that they have figured that out. But what about network? Wouldn't the network get congested if you connect an iSCSI storage to your core switching infrastructure?" Of course, it's a question of design. You design it properly. You have your storage connected to a different data network, like I call it. It's a data network versus a information network. The server connectivity, web servers, application servers are all connected to our information network. Data is connected, just like an FC switch, which physically segregates the data network. In this case, you just need to make sure that it is. But even though I did that at that time, recently we had to move this device into one of our switch rooms, one of the units into a switch room, which then connected through the regular core switching infrastructure, but it works just fine. So probably in a high-scale implementation, you may have to have dedicated switching network, but in a regular branch office network, you can definitely work on this product. So that was an experience in itself. And finally, when we got this box and then started configuring and working along with it, it was like a phenomenal experience. I'll come to that. And before that, the most compelling factor that I would say that I loved about it is the fact that the person who resisted it the most, who fought with me the most, I was responsible more for India. He was taking care of North America. He went ahead and bought 4 units for all of our branch offices in the US after we started working on Ecologic. So once he started seeing the benefit of Ecologic, the person who was fighting with me and against me on buying this product went ahead and ordered these devices. So that was good. So at least I could bring home a point. I could prove that this technology was good, and I could be innovative to do that. The other thing is that when we got the storage, we were worried about getting people trained. One of the reasons why most of the people resisted is the fact that this is a new technology. What about all my skills on fiber? Can I apply the same here? Let me stick to what I am comfortable and all that. So I knew that the existing storage team was not going to be very receptive to what we were doing. So I got a server manager, a guy who was managing servers, and I asked him, take a look at it. You, before it gets commissioned to production, play with it, figure out how to do it, and commission it. So he got support from Dell. Dell engineer came down, gave him directions he stayed over for a day. and then they worked together for a day, and then the Dell engineer went off. After that, he's been only on phone support, and he's able to manage it perfectly. And he has learned everything on his own, along with support from Dell. And then once that is done, today he's managing across the world, even the other 4 devices that was procured by the other guy, all of it is under this person who is managing it. And the other question that typically people told about is like, it's not enterprise class, you can't do replication, you can't rely on this box and all that. So today, our data, one of the most critical uptime requirement data, which is BPO data for the small BPO operation that we have, is on Ecologic. And it is replicated because I personally guarantee that if at all the primary device goes down or connectivity to primary device goes down for some reason, I'll be able to bring it up live with all the data immediately on the other box. I'm confident about that. My engineers have configured it, and it works very well. I keep looking at reports. Things are working fine. So much of this perception that people have about moving into this has been influenced by a lot of the the old things that you come across about unreliable connections and all of that, much of which has changed over a period in time. Today, there is technology that can handle it. And the last thing that I would like to say about this is, what usually happened is, whenever I ask for storage, so being an application manager, typically there will be a requirement which says that I need 500 GB of data, I need 200 GB space, and I go to the regular traditional storage. So for us, we have got every brand. We used to have every brand in our company, and over the last couple of years, we have consolidated everything. Now we have got 2. Today, primary is Dell, and typically on any other storage, when I ask for provisioning, they would come back and say that it'll take 1 day. So it was like, I basically understood. If I need some space for tomorrow, I need to ask today. If I ask tomorrow, I'll get it only the day after that. So why? Because they say that the controller will get taxed too much if you run it on production time. You need to make sure that it is run during a lean time to make sure that the formatting, everything is done properly and all that. So we kind of came to live with it. So when this guy started managing this, one of these days I asked him, I need some storage space. He said, okay. He took down all the details, and then 5 minutes later he calls me back and says, done. I said, what do you mean done? It's created. I'm used to something that is delivered next day. So he said, what do you do differently? He says, that's what it takes in the storage. Now that is very important for us because yes, there are a lot of things that you can plan up front, and if you have better planning, you can manage. But there are those times when you need storage like this, and you need a device that can deliver. And so that's where we are. Right now, we have Ecologic powering our R&D because that's where storage is being asked very quickly. Somebody has an idea now, and he wants the storage immediately. We provide it on Ecologic. So that's my story on Ecologic.
Thank you, Rinosh. So incidentally, UST Technologies, okay. Thank you. So incidentally, UST Technologies is not a small company. They have over 8,000 employees. They are a true global organization. So it works for them. We're fairly certain it will work for a lot of other scenarios. Just to give you an idea, how many people believe that email is a killer application for your business? Email goes down, you have a serious problem. Okay. So we have about 150,000 email boxes. I run it on the same storage that Mr. Rinosh is using, which is Ecologic. Perfect example of what works, what doesn't work. So moving on quickly, the second thing that I want to talk to you about is another piece of technology that we have. So this is another product we acquired. I promised you everything we do is different, so give me just 5 minutes on this one. But before I do that, how many people, so we all have a lot of data. How many of you ensure that the data which is not being used, which hasn't been used for, let's say, 6 months, is sitting on the least expensive hard disks? Okay, so some people ensure it sits on the least expensive hard disks. May I know if you happen to be compellent users by any chance? Okay, excellent. So I would like to ask, how do you actually do it? Because if once I get a map drive, let's say I have a D drive of my laptop mapped to the storage, the NAS box or whatever, how do you know which part of my data has to be moved to less expensive hard disks, which part of my data has to sit on more expensive hard disks? Hey, somebody has a mic?
Good afternoon. Hello. Okay, good afternoon. My name is Harshit Walia. I'm a film producer and a photographer by profession. Although I'm not related to your technological world at all. But see, what happens with us is, like, with regards to filmmaking, we have like tons and tons of data and raw footages to keep with us. So what we do is, once we are done with one part of edit of our film, we keep it on a, we send it to a back system.
Sir, hats off. You're the exception to the rule. You have one large film which you know is a terabyte. You just copy it somewhere else and it's moved. I agree with you.
No, but the problem with which we're facing is now that if we need to bring back that data, that is when the problem actually begins.
Excellent. So you can move it, but when you have to move it back, that's when the fun begins. Thank you so much. So basically, this is something we all would like to dream of. Ideally, I would like to have a system which has fast and expensive, and value for money and something else. Okay? And definitely not expensive, but a lot. And I would like to have a magical trick which ensures that everything that is not getting used is still on the storage. I still see, the user still sees a D drive or whatever, but it is just sitting on a less expensive hard drive. That's a dream we all want to do. In Dell, we call that data progression. And this is how we do it. So we acquired this company for this unique capability. Quick question. How many people know what is RAID 10? Okay, there are a lot of storage guys, love it. So you definitely know what is RAID 5. The quick features. RAID 10 is the fastest writable RAID. When it comes to reading, RAID 10 and RAID 5 are roughly the same. Okay, so just refreshing your memories. And the second thing is, RAID 10 takes away more than half your space. RAID 50 is capable of giving you about 70 to 80% plus capacity. So RAID 50 is very efficient on space. So what we do, what this particular solution from Dell does is, whatever you write gets written on RAID 10. So you get the fastest hard drive. So you've got solid state drives, 15,000 RPM drives, 7,200 RPM drives. Anything that comes in, this is the default behavior. If you want to change it, feel free to spend some hours, but we love it. Whatever you write goes to the fastest, and in RAID 10. Okay? Second thing we assume after you buy a storage is you like to take snapshots. If you don't take snapshots, you have a really bad storage. A snapshot is an instant backup. So we also assume you will take a few snapshots in the day. You define what is your lean time. It could be evening, it could be night. I know BPO houses where from 11 to 1 they have no load. So you define your window. During the window, he will convert everything which was in RAID 10 into RAID 5. Because once it has been written, you will do only two things with it. You will either read it or delete it. Right? New data can be written somewhere else. So what I did was, when you wrote, it was the fastest way of writing. By the time you were going to start reading it, I had optimized the only disadvantage the fast write algorithm had and turned it into RAID 5. And then, if you hold on, few weeks, it will move down one tier. Few more weeks, it will go down one more tier. So you've got, I as a user, I've got like last 10 years data sitting on my laptop. It's probably getting transferred to the network drive. I can assure you I don't access it, but I'm not going to let anyone delete it. What the IT is able to ensure is that 99% of that information that is staying there because I want it to stay there, I'm the business user, it just stays on something which is less expensive. You know, a 2 terabyte drive has over 6 times the capacity of a 600 GB drive. Right? Which means it replaces 6 drives. Think of the power savings you get. If you replace a few hundred drives with 20 odd or 150 odd 2-3 terabyte drives, forget the price. Just look at the power savings you got. Every drive consumes power. Look at the warranty cost you saved, the rack space you saved. So that is exactly what this storage does. And it does a few other magical things, but I would rather skip them right now and instead listen to Mr. Rinosh first. Mr. Rinosh. So the reason why Mr. Rinosh is here is to make another point that Just because we have two solutions doesn't mean that they overlay. They address two different business needs. Mr. Rinosh.
So we've got Component as well. And again, we bought Component in 2010, actually 2011. So in 2011, by 2011, we had started consolidating, and we took a decision to get rid of the multiple types of storage devices that we have. It was a management nightmare, skill nightmare. I mean, we have upgrades, patches for different products, different times, didn't work out. So we wanted to go for a single procurement, which also addressed our virtualization requirements. So we were going on a massive virtualization for considering whatever we had built over 10 years. We had around 400 servers, 480 servers over 10 years. And in 1 year, we were going to build a capacity for 1,000 servers, virtual servers, of course. And for that, we had to choose a storage. And the storage has to be very responsive. It has to be really truly enterprise class, and then deliver the goods in the best possible manner. So we evaluated again. We got our incumbent providers, and including Dell, to come and pitch for the requirement. It was a 300 terabyte requirement. And as we progressed in our, actually I did a complete design with Ecologic. And Dell engineers took a look at it and said that, we would love to have you buy so many Ecologic, but then we have recently acquired a company called Component. So I said, okay. Even Ecologic was new to us when we initially went for it. Component is yet another new name, but we were talking about a lot of money on the table, right? So I said, okay, Component, I'm sure I'll go and buy, Ecologic, I'm sure I've already experienced it. That's the product I'll go with. I've not heard about Component. So they said, no problem. Component is something new in India. You would not have heard about it because they have got very little presence outside North America. And they were willing to give us customer references. They came down and started explaining to us the various feature capabilities. And I included my CIO as well. And one thing that really struck him and me, mostly him from a business angle, was the fact that with data progression, like Harmeet said just now, you could significantly reduce the number of hard drives, which meant less power. Why is less power important to us? So we had already maxed out our data center, and we had to choose a solution which was very intelligent in managing data. Because you can easily exhaust your data center with all the storage that you can have. With virtualization, today we have got 1,000 server capacity out of just 2 chassis, 2 Dell chassis, which is like 20U. Out of 20U, I have capacity for 1,000 virtual servers. What about the storage, right? With an average VM having like 250 GB, 1,000 is going to have 250 terabyte. And if I'm going to buy high performance drives, it's just going to fill up my data center, right? All 300 GB and 500 GB, 300 GB, and at that time, I think, yeah, even 600 GB SAS drives for performance. If I were to buy all these performance drives and put it into kind of RAID 10, or even if it's RAID 5, it's just going to fill up racks and racks of storage space. I would have optimized on my server compute, but then the storage was going to just sprawl out. So it had to be a very smart solution. And that immediately struck us because this will intelligently move data across the various tiers and thereby keep the less access data on the least performing drives, which are usually very high in capacity. That struck us. But then, for us, it was a leap of faith. And when I said it's a leap of faith for us, Dell engineers were like very shocked. They were very upset. They said, it's not leap of faith. This is proven technology. I said, I agree. It's proven technology for you, but it's a leap of faith for me. I'm putting my career on the line, right? I'm making a multi-million investment with just your word, right? I'm going to do that, okay? If I do that, and if something goes wrong, I'll get fired, right? The end of my career, right? So I said, I have to be very cautious about it. They said, don't worry, we are with you, guaranteed, nothing is going to go wrong. And of course, they immediately got us a customer reference in North America. We talked to the gentleman, CIO also talked to him. And we were fairly confident, yes, we are going to go ahead with this technology. And we went ahead and procured that. Today, we have virtualized. The capacity of 1,000 has been built up. We are currently, as of yesterday, I got stats that we are running around 670 VMs. And all of that is on Compellent. Amazing performance. I looked at various performance charts. It shows this data progression, moving from the higher performing drives to the lower performing drives, all of that. And we've got, for the first time, we have got replication across our major, big time replication between our, major data centers between Trivandrum and Chennai. All of that in place. The ease of provisioning, the same person who was working on Ecologic is now in charge of Compellent. Everything has been seamless, very minimal requirement to connect with Dell engineers. Of course, they are available. Another very important feature that I saw about the Compellent experience is that our data center was pretty much maxed out. We had all kinds of issues like hotspots and all of those typical issues. And we were asked to provide connectivity to Compellent site from the device. So we got all the necessary approvals, we connected it, and we did not know what it was for. But they said, you need to have it. Okay, fine, we had it. Before it went into production, the day we powered it on, had everything up and running, because of our data center design, which is kind of slightly flawed, hot air started getting into the topmost shelf. And at 1 o'clock in the night, I get a call from a foreigner saying that, sir, this is from Compellent Support Services, and your drives are hot. I said, what? How could they know about it, right? So that's when I realized they have a program called Copilot, which we were automatically signed up for. And since I had the department, they had obviously put my name, though I don't know much about this stuff, more than from a business angle. He said, the drives on your shelf, and we had tagged it and everything, so the top shelf are kind of running above ideal temperature. You may want to take a look at it. So immediately, we are using Compellent Copilot. Amazing service. Absolutely amazing service. In fact, I just told Dell that they should have a Copilot for all their products. Right? Amazing service. The fact is that you have a problem ticket. You call up these guys, or you send a message to these guys and say that you need support. This is the first time I get a call back from the person asking, is everything all right now? Right? A few days later. That never happens. Right? Typical support, you raise a ticket, you close it, that's it. They may send you might get a support from, I'm calling from customer support survey, how was your experience with the call last time and all that. But this is the same person who gave you support by name, sends a mail and tells you how are things going now. Amazing support. I don't know how they do it, but I just love Copilot. So with that, I would like to hand over to Harmeet.
Thank you, Rinosh. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
So we're very close to the end of the session, but I think this is a perfect testimonial of what the solution can do for you. In fact, I even forgot to talk about the kind of services we bundle with the product. But I thought I will just show you one more slide before I walk off, which is this one. Sorry, it's not a very nice slide to have a look at, but I'll tell you what it does. So we talked about data progression, right? Your data is going to sit on something which is the least expensive tier. You probably will stick your neck for us and for yourself to get an approval for this. But what happens if your CFO catches your neck after 6 months? I gave you a shitload of money, man. What did you do with it? So we have inside this particular tool a beautiful little report. You know what it is called? It is called the hero report. And you know what it does? It makes a hero out of you. So what you do is you click on this report, take a printout, and you can put it on your CFO's table and say, hey, here is this report that shows X terabytes of data is sitting on the 2 terabyte or the 3 terabyte drives. So I did save the company X amount of money because pick up the number of drives, multiply it with the power consumption, put the rupee figure to it. You can actually put it on a table that this is the number of rupees I've saved you for power. And because I bought these bigger drives, we probably bought so many lesser drives, that's the kind of money I saved you on the drives. You can do it. And this product has about half a dozen other features, but I think we can always talk about that afterwards. Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it. Thank you.